All right, here we go. Welcome to this edition of the Showcasing College Baseball podcast powered by College Recruit Prep. I'm your host, Ross Hawley, and I want to thank you for spending some time with us wherever you might be watching or listening from. If this is your first time with us, welcome. Go give us a follow on our Facebook group page at Showcasing College Baseball or visit us on the World Wide Web at collegerecruitprep.com. On today's episode, I had the great opportunity to sit down with the president and CEO of the National Junior College Athletic Association, Dr. Christopher Parker. Dr. Parker has been the head guy at the NJCAA since 2017 and is one of the most recognizable executives in all of college sports. Couple that with the fact that he's a former NCAA Division I baseball player and coach, and it's safe to say Dr. Parker is one of the most knowledgeable and well-versed individuals in the world of college recruiting. With that said, here's my interview with Dr. Christopher Parker. All right. Dr. Christopher Parker, the president and CEO of the NJCAA, National Junior College Athletics Association. Dr. Parker, I got to say this, man. I'm really excited to talk to you today. And I mentioned as we were talking briefly before the podcast, I didn't realize you have such an amazing baseball background. So I'm pumped for you to be talking, in your administrative role as a CEO of the NJCAA, but also relate it with your baseball experience. I mean, guys, for everybody listening to this, Dr. Parker was a college baseball player, a Division I college baseball player. He coached at the Division I level. He has been there, done that. And I saw, Dr. Parker, that you played on a team that took a top 10 finish at the NBC, man. And anybody that knows anything about college summer baseball knows that the NBC World Series in Wichita is the event. So that said, thank you very much, Dr. Parker, for taking your time today and joining the podcast. We're super excited to have you.
I'm excited to be here. I look forward to the conversation. Yeah, I'm a baseball guy. That's me. I correlate everything in life to baseball. So when people in the office get tired of me correlating baseball, but I do.
I think my wife feels the same way too. I do the same. Okay, so Coach. I'll say Dr. Parker. I say Coach because you are a coach too.
Call me whatever's best.
Yeah, man. So I want to get into this, and the first question or comment I have for you is I'm gonna throw these questions up for you so you can see them, but I kind of want to just dig in, and for those of those people that are watching this and they have no idea what the NJCAA is, introduce us and just tell us a little bit about your mission, your programs, and your opportunities, please.
Yeah, our motto is opportunity start here. And, people hear the term JUCO. And, there's been a lot of negative stigmatism around the word JUCO. And what our big goal is to get people to understand right now, going to a 2-year college is the best ROI on higher education you can get. And wow. the cost of it, and the fact that, we have 3 divisions, 1, 2, and 3, and you can get scholarships at Division I, you can get scholarships at Division II. Division III, you're not getting athletic scholarships, but if you walk into that college, I guarantee you they're going to meet your need as a student because you're still eligible for federal, state, institutional, academic aid, whatever that may be. And so a lot of times people kind of overlook that because, we haven't been the prominent face of college athletics when it comes to TV and media. But this year we have our first big ESPN deal. And, we will be our D1 baseball and softball championships will be on ESPN Plus. We have our own channel on ESPN now. So starting to tell that story. But when you take the sport of baseball, and for as long as somebody can imagine, the NJCAA has dominated the Major League Baseball draft. And that's because you can go to one of our schools for a year or 2 years and still get drafted, where if you enter an NCAA school, you got to be there 3 years before you can get drafted. And when you start throwing around names such as Andy Pettit, Roger Clemens, Mike Piazza, Jim Thome, Albert Pujols, Bryce Harper, you just go down the list and people are like, what? They played JUCO baseball? Yes, they did. And most of them, that's the only level of college baseball they ever played. And it starts to change the thought process, gets people in mind thinking, oh, wow, like I didn't really get that. And And again, it depends on where you are in the country. Resources are different, but understanding that in your backyard, there's probably a 2-year college that has sports, whether that's a more of a traditional junior college with dorms, or if that's more of a commuter college that doesn't have dorms and you can live at home or you can live in apartments, whatever it is, that's still a real option. But our motto is opportunity start here. And we open the doors for young men and women who want to play sports.
Man, that's awesome. And I can't agree with you more. I know, being a baseball guy myself, we understand once you've kind of gone through it, you look back and you realize JUCO, you realize what an excellent route that is for so many dudes and so many guys that have impacted this game, went through an NJCAA program. So excellent point. I go ahead.
I like to the phenom right now is the Savannah Bananas, and I worked with Jesse Cole when he owned the Martinsville Mustangs, and his whole roster. I mean, you go through his roster, and most of his guys are NJCAA guys. His head coach is an NJCAA coach, and we even got a chance to interview the young man who does the backflips, and he's what's your story? I'm JUCO made, JUCO proud, and that's the stories that these guys tell, and you're like, oh well, if they can play NJCAA baseball, well, why shouldn't I be able to play NJCAA baseball?
I'm curious, because when I think I hear the term JUCO bandit, and that's like a badge of honor, right? If you've been there, I personally never did it, but if you've been to a junior college and you've grinded through a junior college, these guys wear it like a badge of honor. So talk to me a little bit about like what that grind looks like, being a junior college baseball player.
So yeah, it's all about when the game doesn't change. When you can run out there in the state of Florida and others, and you're facing 90 miles an hour every day, all day, at every game you play, the game doesn't change. But when you have limited resources, meaning you don't have the luxurious travel, you don't have the extra stuff at practice, and you make the most of it. That's what that grind is. And you'll find out, I'll never forget, it was a couple years ago, I guess Mississippi State won the College World Series.
Yeah.
And the following January at ABCA, I wasn't even going into sessions, but I was there, and I just happened to stick my head in, and the head coach said, if you want to be successful, you better have a roster of JUCO bandits on your team, because those guys get after it. And in the year of COVID, some research was done, and the 3, 4, and 5 hole hitters made up 70% of the entire SEC lineup of JUCO bandits. And it's just unreal when you think about the progression. I was Central Florida won the Junior College World Series, Division I World Series last year, and I just saw that a young man who kind of struggled through it just signed with Florida State, and he'll be a proud JUCO bandit for the rest of his life. And you ask him, what made you the player you are? Going in NJCAA and playing there helped me develop and helped me get to what I needed to be to sign a scholarship at Florida State.
Man, that's awesome. That's awesome, Dr. Parker. You know what? Take me through. And pretending like, this is the first time people are hearing about, 2-year schools, a lot of new members that we have in our group. Take me through the major differences between the NJCAA 2-year options versus the 4-year options.
Well, when it comes to your academics, the first 2 years, there's nothing different. Same classes, same core curriculum. You're figuring out what you really want to study, that kind of thing. On the playing field, well, you can actually play 56 regular season games at the junior college level, and there are 24 full ride scholarships available. There's not a big split where you're sharing scholarships amongst 16 guys. There are 24 full rides available. The big difference you'll see on the field is, depending on where you are, you may get 4 or 5 games in a weekend. Some are playing a 3-game series, but others are playing 4 games in a weekend series, and you're playing 2 or 4 games in the middle of the week. So the opportunity to shine is there. And when you look at the junior college experience, we start earlier than everybody else. So there's a big event that they started putting together just the last few years down in Palm Beach, Florida. every major league franchise is sitting there with somebody there watching all of the young men play from every team there is. Tomorrow, first weekend and second weekend in January, the Texas Rangers are hosting a JUCO event that they're all supposed to be there. And unfortunately, with some travel plans, I couldn't make it in and out. But again, you've got the world champion Rangers are hosting some top JUCO teams to get things done and showcase that ability. So understanding if you want to play, you want to get on the field, you want to make an impact, the 2-year college level, you're not going to sit the bench. The coaches are asking 18, 19-year-olds to get on the field and perform right now. And when the 4-year college recruiters come around, right now the trend is portal first. Who can I find that's older, mature, and has experience? And now the second is JUCO transfers. Who do I have that has 100 college at-bats that can come in and make an impact for my team right now? And unfortunately, a lot of high school kids are getting left out of that 4-year level right now because of that. And at the same time, that's when we step in and make sure that those high school individuals understand the opportunities that exist so that we can put them on the field and prep them for the next level ahead.
Man, that is such a good point, because I really don't think here's what I see. I see a lot of families, parents, kids, and they don't know what they don't know, but they're so excited about the sign and the making the commitment. And it's almost like they put the signing over what the career looks like. And you touched on something about getting and playing. Expand on that for me. How crucial is it for if baseball is my goal and I want to be a successful college baseball player, how important is it for me to get innings year one?
You have to, if that's what you're in it for, and you want to progress, whether that progression ends you with an awesome college career or then a possible professional career. If you're not on the field, you're not getting there, right. And that goes through from the start of the fall season to the end of the spring season, and what are you doing over the summer to make yourself better? How is that program doing? And again, in the fall, junior college season play 20 games. We can play 20 games against outside competition. 4-year schools can't do that. 4-year schools will opt to play some of their spring games in the fall against external competition. And we have a lot of junior colleges who play Division I schools in the fall as those competition games because they use it as recruiting. But we can play 20 outside games in the fall. And so when you think about that exposure, a lot of 4-year schools and a lot of pro scouts are at those fall games because they've heard about the young man coming out of high school that signed with such and such NJCAA team. And so they get a chance to go in and see them right away in the fall as the Major League Baseball seasons are ultimately winding down, but they're coming off of summer seasons and heading right into their fall semesters.
I just being in and around the game for so long, I hear at times, well, I'd be good with redshirting. I'd be good with, sitting for 2 years and then getting my opportunity to play, my junior year maybe. And it's never made sense to me, where here's what I do know about the game of baseball and help me out with this. But if you're not playing, you're not going to be happy. You're a different person walking around campus. You're not going to be confident. Your self-esteem goes down. You doubt yourself. You think about quitting. That's like when I think about someone saying, hey, I'm gonna, and not that redshirting is bad in every situation, but not playing year one or not having the opportunity to impact and be a part of the team, man, that is really detrimental at times to a player's psyche. What are your thoughts?
If you're a go-getter, you want to be there, and not being there is a huge detriment to somebody's, like you said, psyche, their mental stability, their desire that okay, I'm working hard and I want to be an impact player. So again, at this level, it's that day's the day. We're putting you on the lineup, and you better get it done. And we're gonna bet our coaching careers on 18, 19-year-old success. I got a lot of gray hair, and that came from trying to do that years ago.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Let's stay on that topic and let's just talk in general. With your experience in the game and coaching and just knowing what you know, what are some key factors that you think all recruits, all high school baseball players should consider when they're deciding on a college home?
No option is marked off initially. Again,
Okay.
evaluate every option. After you evaluate it, if you know it's not right for you, then mark it off. But so often I see young men, young women, I'm not even going to consider that. And guess where they end up? There.
That's
and
right.
If they'd have considered that to start with, they were at least educated on it, and they were able to compare things truthfully from the start versus saying, no, I'm not going there. Well, if you say you're not going there, that better be the truth. You better not even consider it. It should just not be. But we often see, well, I'm not going there. And then they end up, oh, this was where I am.
Yep.
So keep your options open. Be honest with yourself. When you look in the mirror, what's reality? What is it that I want to do academically, athletically? Where are my physical abilities right now? Where are my finances right now? What are some of the things that I need to evaluate? But don't mark it off before you ever get started. Keep the options open, because once you close that door, it's hard to get back to the beginning trait of here we are, but now I've got to accept this versus, wow, I really needed to evaluate this to start with versus just scratching it off the board.
I always feel like whenever I talk with the high school kids, I feel like there's three things that really matter, the key factors. And I always say, hey, who you play for, who you play with, who you play against. And in that third one, who you play against, are you playing? And are you playing against good competition? What's going to make an 18-year-old kid happy as a freshman in college? What would you estimate that to be?
Happy. Playing time always makes somebody happy.
Yeah.
But having a college environment where you're a part of the team, always believe that's the core component. So if you feel like you're a part of something special, your team may be 5-25, but if you feel like you're a part of something special and you're motivated by your teammates, like you said, you're motivated by your coach, then those are life lessons and life achievements that nobody can take from you. And you're grinding through it, because again, you can go 5-25, you got playing time, you got experience, but you feel like you're a part of something. The next year, all of a sudden you go 20 and 10, you're a part of that success. And when you look at the holistic view, and a lot of times young men and young women, they can't see that till 10, 15 years down the road. But those experiences are what truly shape them and form them into successful adults, successful business people, successful, students in the long run. So understanding that perspective, not necessarily, I don't want to say accepting it, but just having a philosophical understanding that this is happening for a reason, I think is a critical aspect.
Yeah, man, that is good stuff. I want to kind of go back. You talked about the 24 scholarships for the NJCAA Division I schools. So I really want you to kind of just talk about like the money that is available. So talk about the scholarship and financial assistance opportunities that are available at that level.
Yeah, so D1, you can give 24 full rides, meaning they can pay for everything that you have.
Amazing.
And yeah, it's strong. At the Division II level, they can give you 24 scholarships that pay for books and tuition. Then D3, they're not going to give you any athletic aid. But again, based on the tuition, let's call it a rough average of total. I think our numbers show a total out-of-pocket expense with living is roughly $15,000. So if you go to a D1 junior college with dorms, they pay for everything. You've put $30,000 in your pocket, and you've got only 2 years left to pay for college if you transfer. D2 level, what they do is, they look at, we can pay for the tuition and books. What else are you eligible for? You're a student, so you have to be a general student eligible for other things. So maybe you get additional federal aid, you get additional state aid. All of a sudden, again, you're walking away with no out-of-pocket cost. But even if you look at it and say, well, I got this, I'm left with $5,000 a year to pay for the first 2 years of my college education. that's pretty good because you're not getting that at a D1 school unless you're the guy, and what do you make of that? What are you investing back into that JUCO bandit mentality? What are you investing in those 2 years in yourself to make sure you get a bigger scholarship at the 4-year level? So it's all of those dynamics when you look at the finances of where you're going. And again, this day and age, we have a lot of young men and women who come out of high school, a lot of dual credits. So it may be that they only need 1 year of NJCAA to play and then graduate.
Sure.
And so if they're strong enough student, strong enough athlete, they're moving on after 1 year and have 3 years to play at the NCAA D1, D2, D3, NAIA level, post NJCAA experience. So it's kind of all over the board, but facing the real truth and the ROI on higher education, you won't find one that has a higher ROI on the first 2 years of college education than your local 2-year college.
Man, I love that. That should be on your guys' banner. I'm serious. Like that should be like your slogan for the NJCAA. Because I'm sitting here thinking this. I'm thinking when we talk about recruiting and we try to help kids the right way. I'm thinking the kid that doesn't know what he wants to major in, the kid that isn't quite where he doesn't. He's not sure if he wants to go to a 4-year. He wants to get drafted. Why is attending, like, paint the picture of the kid that junior college would be a great option for?
So we look at it in a number of different ways. We look at the academic aspect. Does a student have no idea what he or she wants to do? Well, okay. The first 2 years of classes are pretty much identical at a 4-year and 2-year school. You're going to figure that out. So you take those classes. Then we do have students who academically have struggled through high school. And so at the 2-year level, we have a lot of remedial courses. So you come in, we prepare you to be a successful student, and we get you academically prepared for the long-term goals. So those are the two academic pieces that are critical to success. Then we have the students who, again, they're battling, do I want to go to a 4-year school for 3 years, knowing that I can get drafted? Now it's only a 20-round draft. If I can get drafted in the 19th round out of junior college in the first year, or do I want to wait 3 years? Do I get hurt? What happens, et cetera, et cetera? And those kids come in and say, well, I want to play 1 or 2 years. We still get a lot of kids. They may get drafted in let's say the 18th round in year 1. They decide to come back because they know their stock is continuing to rise, and they're a 10th round draft pick now.
Yep.
So we have that student. Then we have the physical ability student. When I'm talking about physical ability, I'm talking about it's still developing. Their body's still growing. Yeah. Their arm strength exists. You can see that it's there, but it's not to where the D1s want it to be right now. And they come in and they work hard. They have that JUCO bandit mentality. They get in the weight room, and all of a sudden, they were throwing 88 with a good curveball. They're now 93 with a better curveball. And that physical ability to grow and mature while still playing, not redshirting and sitting on the bench hoping you get there, but we're still perfecting your skill while you're getting stronger, bigger, faster, et cetera, physically to be there. All of those options are on the table at the junior college. And again, that's why we kind of use the slogan, opportunity start here. And again, I named Mike Piazza earlier. Most people know the story on Mike Piazza. He was the very last draft pick back when it was a 50-round draft, and
61st round back then.
61st. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. 60, the last pick of the 61st round, because he was Tommy Lasorda's godson, as a favor. And today he is the all-time offensive catcher in the history of baseball.
Easy.
And he played at Miami-Dade Community College, and that's where he was when he was drafted. And, you can use those and you say, oh, wow. But again, if you saw baseball especially in southern states of Georgia, Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, Texas, Louisiana, and January the 24th rolls around, and they're rolling out a guy throwing 96 the first day, and that's your first game of the year. Ooh. You're like, wait a minute, it's going to be a long season.
Yep.
And don't get me wrong, you go to places like Wabash Valley and Iowa Western, other places in the Midwest and Kansas, they have those same guys. They just chose to stay at home and be there. There's a young man up in northern Essex that I hadn't really heard about till I went up there, and I think he's sitting about 95 at a D3 school in
Really?
Massachusetts, and I'm really excited to see what he does this spring. And it's the model that people have to understand: D1, D2, and D3 for the NJCAA. It's a much about regional location. So the Northeast is dominated by D3 schools. That's just the way they're set up. That doesn't mean that the baseball is less or the academics is less. It's just the way that it's set up and how the school has decided to run their programs. And again, we kind of talk about it. And young man from Sullivan Community College was a D3 basketball program forever. I mean, he just chose to stay home and he ends up in the NBA. So that understanding of it's not a less, it's the opportunity that it presents itself at the time is where you should go.
Some of the best advice I ever got, Dr. Parker, was from one of my coaches. Name is Benny Castillo. He runs a facility down in Miami. He was a manager in a bunch of the Marlins, a couple other organizations. And the best advice he ever gave me, I remember, was my freshman year of college. And he said, Ross, as long as you're playing, you're not sitting, you're playing, you have a chance. Because we were talking about goals, and I was like, man, I want to get drafted. I want to be in the big league someday. And it was so simple. He said, then you've got to be playing. Make sure you're somewhere where you can play. Some of the best advice, most simple advice I ever got. Let's if you're good with 2 or 3 more questions, Dr. Parker, I really do appreciate this time, man, and just excellent information. I want to go back to the transfer portal, and I want you to really break it down on how this is really working right now. Like, what parents and kids need to know, but how has the transfer portal affected junior colleges, NJCAA programs, and just what are your thoughts? Like, what advice do you have for parents and kids to consider when it comes to the portal?
It's definitely delayed the recruiting process for us. And what I mean by delayed is those last few roster spots, we used to get, there used to be obviously the rules that said you had, if you played D1, you had to sit out a year before you could transfer another D1. So those individuals automatically pretty much came back to the junior college to keep playing without sitting out. That rule doesn't exist anymore. So now you take that pool of students, and there's way more students in the transfer portal than there are roster spots ultimately in various sports. So our coaches aren't as much recruiting those individuals who are potentially leaving those D1s because they know they're hopping into the transfer portal where they would have recruited them right then and there. They start getting the calls after they've sat in the transfer portal for a longer period of time and nobody's called them up and said, here's why I want you, et cetera, et cetera. And, so they're getting more of those calls later in the process. So our schools are focusing more on the top level high school kids to really, fill their rosters early. So they have their set roster. They know who they're going to have and who they're going to work with for that upcoming season. And they're investing more time and energy on those top high school student athletes. The transfer portal in general, like I said, it's just kind of it's a beast of its own. What's going to happen in the future? My crystal ball has been broken for a while. But when it comes to reality, the reality is that those individuals who automatically were coming out of D1 back to the NJCAA level are now going to the transfer portal, and they're sitting and they're waiting. And, our coaches can't necessarily just keep waiting on them. So they're recruiting more and more of the high school kids to make sure they fill their rosters. If those young men end up calling later, they certainly give them a good hard look and try to find a place for them to fit. But the heavy work is now more on the high school end.
Yeah, man. I know you won't say it because you're a big dog and I'm not, but man, the transfer portal, I feel like it's just it's so I number one, I'm sick and tired of hearing those stupid words, transfer portal, because we always got to talk about it. But I just feel like something's got to be done. Let's try to the game is such a beautiful game at all the different levels. and I feel like it's corrupting that. But those are my opinions. So, all right, Coach or Dr. Parker. Here's what I want you to be specific. I'm Ross Hawley. I'm a junior in high school, and I don't know what the heck to do with recruiting. What recruiting advice do you have for high school baseball players looking to play in college?
Number one, get some video. The first thing you got to have is video, because coaches want to see you, and there are different recruiting budgets all over, but the sending of a video will get their interest wherever they may be. Have video, have your stats, but video is the most important. They want to see the tools. They want to see it in action. They want to see what it is. You better have a confident but not cocky mentality. Confident meaning that, you're confident in your skills, you're confident in your abilities, but you're not arrogant. You're not over the top. And then when coaches are there, when I was coaching, if you didn't run a ball out at first base, I didn't really care how good you were. I was pretty much gonna write you off, because I want people who are gonna work hard. I want people who understand that baseball is 70% failure.
Yep.
It is 70% failure as a hitter. If you can hit 300, you'll go to the Hall of Fame in the big leagues.
Frustrating.
70% failure. How do you handle failure? What do you do? What is your body language when you're on the mound? You strike out a guy. Is it the same body language as if you give up a hit? What does the body language look like? What does the body language tell me as a coach about you as a person? Because I'm reading your body language. I don't even need to hear what's coming out of your mouth, but I can read your body language. Your body language is going to tell me everything I need to know about your fiery competitiveness, or your Debbie Downerness, or any other emotions that you may have when something good happens, or when a mistake happens. But get involved. Find a way to get your videos. Share that. You have to be seen. In this day and age, there's no reason for a coach to say they can't see you, and that doesn't mean they have to show up at your field, at your game, because all the technology exists to be able to showcase your talents and your abilities. And then on the other flip side, you don't have to know what you want to do for a living going in, but find a school, find an opportunity that is going to, again, like we talked about, allow you to play, allow you to be happy. You don't want to spend 4 years of your life unhappy. Again, even if you're, a quote unquote role player in certain things, you got to be happy. You got to be understanding, but the push and the drive to be better can only really come from within, with a coach behind you kicking you in the butt. They can only kick you in the butt so many times before you're either off to the races or you kind of roll over. So that's really what I would say to any young man or woman who is kind of looking in the recruiting space is, there's no reason for somebody not to see you, for you not to have a video or stuff, but get it done.
Awesome. All right. Last question, Dr. Parker. Parents, what advice do you have for these parents when it comes to the college recruiting process and their kids?
So this is a unique one because I wear a lot of hats. I'm a parent as well, and my daughter's a volleyball player, and we're kind of starting that whole recruiting process. And the first thing is, don't close off. Don't say no to anything before you evaluate it. Okay. And that's for me as a parent, and me as a former coach, and me in this role is evaluate your options. Understand that reality may be different than a dream, and it doesn't mean you don't dream big, but when it all comes down to it, be realistic in your son's or daughter's ability. Compare that to what you would see. Find a coach that you can trust. You're handing off your loved one, your young 18-year-old child, to somebody for either 2 years or 4 years or whatever it may be. You want to be able to trust that coach. You want to be able to know that their integrity is the same that you would expect of yourself, that they're going to push your young one to be better in all aspects of life, not just on the field. But their time and value is as important to your child, to them, as it is to yourself. So really, look for those qualities in a coach when you kind of say, oh, they're going to be harsh on my kid. is that what your child really needs? Because it may be what your child really needs to be the best that they can be. So don't shy away from, the realistic expectations.
Awesome. I want to ask one more. I want to ask a fun question, just because I'm curious, man. Because you're a baseball guy. What's your favorite baseball memory of all time?
Ooh, gosh,
give me something that comes to mind.
So, as a young kid, my dad would take me out into the yard. I grew up on a tobacco farm, so I grew up on a farm. But my dad would take me out into the yard almost every day and throw me short hops, just short hop after short hop after short hop. And that's where I became a really, really, really good defensive player. I was an excellent defensive player, average at best offensive player most of my career, most of my livelihood. But, at this point in my life, when you think back and you kind of think, you can't trade those memories for anything. When it comes to actually playing, this is a funny one. It involves the NBC World Series, and you'll have to excuse my French a little bit here. So pardon the take, but we were actually opening up against the Chinese Taipei in the international game.
Ooh.
And I was playing second base, and the leadoff batter, his name was Yo Shin Mi.
Okay.
And the announcer, every time he came to the plate, he'd say, "Now batting number 5, you shouldn't me." And and I'm like, first, he is leading off the game. The first play, about the third or fourth pitch, he hits a 4-hopper up the middle. I field it routinely, throw it to first base. He's already through the bag before the ball gets there.
You said,
and I'm literally like, okay, his name really is You Shouldn't.
That's so good.
I've never seen a guy run that fast.
That is awesome, man. That's really good.
Field.
Oh, that's awesome, man. I love that.
So it's like I said, it's weird. My wife can tell me something yesterday and I won't remember it, but you asked me what happened in this game in 1992 at this time. I can tell you exactly what happened and why the decision was made and what should have been made. So
what did being a baseball player mean to your life?
Everything. That was my identity. That was who I wanted to be. I often tell people, if I was betting on my skills, I was a better basketball player than I was baseball player.
Wow!
But I loved baseball. I still do. I don't. I don't know if you can see everything around my office here, but it's all baseball. I mean, I live and die. This is my stress ball right here.
Heck yeah, man. Same.
It just hangs out with me all day, every day, and
I love that.
I can correlate anything to the game of baseball. But yeah, my identity. I mean, again, baseball.
There you go.
Seems. I'm in my 40s and still wearing a baseball band around. It truly has been much of my identity for most of my life, and I'm passionate about it. And when I got to serve as an associate scout for both the Braves and the Red Sox, I mean, that was things that never dreamed about, years ago, but then all of a sudden it becomes a reality. I remember getting the contract in the mail. It was like, "You're signing with the Atlanta Braves for X, Y, and Z." And I'm like,
wow,
that's real. Like, holy crap, I should hold on to this.
Jeez, man. And I'm like, that's why it's so important for these kids to, there's so many of them that are so close to it, and just that little extra push, get there, be happy, because man, the game will change your life. It will change. It'll set your path. I know it did for me. So, man, you have been awesome, Dr. Parker. I really, really appreciate that you took this time. I know you're a busy man. So, and I'm glad we got to connect. I think it was 6 years ago, but we didn't get to do all this video conferencing. Now is the way to do it. So
new game. And I'd tell anybody, follow me on Twitter. I'm pretty active on Twitter at NJCAA_exec. I post stuff about the NJCAA all the time. Just last night, I posted 2 videos because 2 basketball games were going on. They were showing JUCO guys in the NBA, and they were showing different stuff. And I'm like, yep, that's who we are. And the more we share that story, the more people realize it.
That's why you're in that position, man. You have the passion for sports and young athletes. I love it, man. You were doing a fantastic job. I didn't know that you guys moved to Charlotte. You guys were in the Springs, but you moved to Charlotte. So that's pretty cool. Well, hey, I appreciate you very much taking the time, and we will get this out and thank you for your time. Okay.
Absolutely. Have a great day and wish everybody the best in their recruiting process.
All right, Dr. Parker. See you, man.
Take care.
All right. Again, I want to thank Dr. Christopher Parker for taking some time to talk with us today. Go give him a follow on X at NJCAA_exec. And for more information on NJCAA baseball, follow them on X at NJCAA baseball or visit njcaa.org. I'm your host, Ross Hawley, and on behalf of the Showcase in College Baseball, I want to thank you for listening. Be sure to follow the Showcase in College Baseball group page on Facebook or visit us at collegerecruitprep.com for more of our podcasts and content. We will see you next time.